episode of Property and Palava, where we discuss different things concerning property buying, property rentals, property leasing, and everything that has to do with properties here in Nigeria and also in Lagos State and its environs. I'm your host. My name is Konisola, and right here with me on today's episode, I've got the very delectable Madam Gina.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on today's show. So today we'll be continuing landlord madness. We'll be tilting slightly towards those who are renting these properties. Madam Gina, let me ask you, why do you think that landlords just decide to increase rent every year? Do you think it's impulsive or it's necessary?
Well, thank you for your question. So I think actually the basic answer is just because they can. It is their property. They can increase rent whenever they want. Why? Because it's their property. Then other reasons might be definitely inflation. Inflation affects everything, and you don't expect a landlord renting out a property for a certain amount for over like 5 years, 10 years to still keep to that property, keep to that amount, and not increase over time. I mean, it's real estate. You need to benefit over time. There are different factors that affect. There's inflation, there's migration, there's economic factors. So all that put together actually makes a reason for why the landlord will increase rent. You get, so it's understandable.
Okay. All right. I totally understand your perspective.
Okay.
So it's business.
Yes, it's
basically,
business.
And everybody is in business for profit.
Of course.
Okay. Fantastic. So we totally understand that they want to increase prices.
Yes.
When due. Yeah.
Yes.
Or whenever they deem it fit.
Yes.
Or whenever they think is necessary. But then, what happens when, in situations whereby a tenant or someone who rented an apartment is complaining about maybe a leaking roof, a plumbing problem, something has gone wrong in that apartment? What happens? Why do you think landlords really do not pay attention to that part? They just want to get their rent and move on. Are they supposed to fix those problems, or whoever rented the apartment is liable to fixing it?
So, in this case, before you rent a property or an apartment, I think there's an agreement to it. There's a legal agreement to it. So, this fixing of stuff, whatever goes on in the apartment, it binds out to the agreement. What does the agreement say? Does this state in the agreement, is there a clause in the agreement that before you move in, I'm going to fix everything, and after you moved in, whatever gets bad, you're going to be the one to fix it? Or once you move in, whatever gets bad, the landlord will fix it? I think these agreements are stated in the legal agreement before the tenants subscribe. But most times, these tenants don't even go through this agreement. They just pay for the rent. Okay, I've paid my legal, I've paid my caution, and they just go ahead. You don't take time to go through what this agreement states and see what you're putting yourself into. So most time, I'm not trying to dispute the fact that some landlords are very unreasonable. Yes, they are unreasonable landlords, but on the long run, you won't actually blame them, because when you come to them like, oh, my roof is leaking or something spoils in my apartment, they'll say, okay, what did you sign in the agreement? What did you agree to? When we gave you this apartment, everything was working perfectly. So you're the one living here. If anything goes bad, you should be the one to fix it. And sometimes it's what's like the clause that has been agreed to, that the tenant signed to. Maybe they know or they didn't know, but they've signed to it. Whilst I don't dispute the fact that some landlords can be unreasonable, I still think that it's both parties.
Okay.
So whatever you're going into, you should look at your agreement. What does your agreement state? If it states that, oh, the landlord is supposed to be the one to repair anything, then you go for the landlord. You can actually make a case. So far you have that legal agreement, you can make a case, and God willing, you win the case. Of course, you can do that. But so far you have that agreement binding and signed. So, yeah.
All right. But in a situation where there was no agreement,
okay,
or it wasn't indicated in the agreement, are you saying that the person who wants to rent the apartment should ask for the agreement? Or are you saying that if it wasn't stated, should the person who wants to rent the rent the apartment, after communication, have a discussion with the owner of the house?
Yes.
Because in most situations, realistically speaking,
Okay.
when you want to rent an apartment, you're in most situations desperate.
Yes.
You just want to rent the apartment.
Sure.
You just want to know if you can afford it.
Yes.
Yes, you can afford it. You just want to make payment and you just want to move into the house. So in a situation where you did not even bother going ahead to ask who is going to be liable if something goes wrong, what should be done at that point? Are you going to advise that whoever rented the apartment just fix whatever it is? Or now, have a discussion with your landlord if you have the contact of your landlord or your facility manager. I'm going to fix this. Will it be deducted from my next rent? Or what do you think should be done in this situation?
So in this situation, first things first, you rented a property and you didn't have any binding costs. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. So something goes bad in your apartment. The first thing you do is to reach out to your landlord and state your concern. Now, if the landlord refuses to repair this stuff, there are two things. Either you repair it or you move out. Because this is what the landlord will tell you. Either you fix, because they gave you the property and everything was fixed and you got into the property and something got bad. Some, of course, I won't say that some landlords are always like on their right senses. Some are actually very wicked. But then, if they tell you that, okay, you've gotten into this property, you something got fault, you either fix it or you leave. Sincerely speaking, you either fix it or you leave, because you cannot go and report your landlord. The landlord will always win the case against you, because there is no clause binding that he fixes whatever goes bad after you've moved in. If it's before you moved in, that's fine and good. You have every right. In fact, you don't have to pay. You tell him, please fix this thing first before I pay. But after you paid, and there's no clause stating that once you've moved in, that is going to fix whatever gets bad, you don't have any case. You can't.
But you know that some things are minor and some things are major.
Yes.
Some things are minor. Oh, you have a leakage in your bathroom, you fix it. But the roof is leaking. So, or you've moved in before you then realize that, oh, something is wrong here.
Okay. So in that case, I think in the general law, I think there's something that states for structural deficits. So if it's a roof, like a leaking roof, that's a structural deficit. It's the landlord should be the one to take care of that. It's a leaking roof. Or if it's something in the apartment, maybe something is leaking.
I think that's understandable.
Yes,
you have to change your tap. You need to change your water.
So if it's a structural defect, the landlord is responsible for that. The landlord has to take responsibility for that immediately.
Okay.
Yes.
So, do you know that some tenants are just simply told, if you are not comfortable with it, pack out. Just pack out. No human feelings, no emotional attachment, nothing. Just get out. Is that fair?
Sincerely speaking, it's not fair. It is not fair at all. It's a very, I honestly, I can relate. It's a very sad situation. But then, there is demand. The landlord know that properties in Lagos right now, hot cake, especially in areas like Lekki, Surulere, Ajah. So when they tell you that I've increased my rent, and you say, I can't renew this rent, so they say, but just move out of my house. Because they know that the moment you step out, there are 10 other people willing to pay ×2 or whatever increase has been done to the former rent. So the reason why these landlords have this confidence to say, you either pay this rent or you get off my house, it's because of demand. The demand is very high. So if government can come in and make housing like available to like the common man, I think this is going to reduce, like it's going to go a long way in the housing deficit in Nigeria.
All right.
Yeah.
So another question that comes to mind.
Okay.
That I've heard people ask.
Okay.
Your landlord just shows up suddenly, like LDLE. They just show up at your doorstep. What do you think?
So, most times when they do that, it's just this ego control. This is my property. I can come in whenever they like. Like I can come whenever I like. But most times they want to monitor their property. They want to check if you're actually adhering to the rules you signed in before moving in. Some tenants might, after moving in, start throwing parties, and it's against their agreement. So landlord just show up unexpected to see if you are doing any shady thing around this property, because whether you like it or not, it is still the landlord's property. True. If anything goes bad, they're going to contact the landlord. It's going to be held responsible because it's the one that brought in that tenant.
True.
So most times they show up unexpected because they want to monitor these things. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah.
Okay. I agree with you. I agree with you because when you own something,
yes,
you want it to be taken care of.
Exactly.
You want to ensure that whoever it is that you've handed it over to,
mm-hmm,
takes good care of it,
course,
and looks out for
exactly
the good of that place. Okay.
Yes.
So another thing is, there's different demeanor.
Okay.
When from landlords, from owners of houses, when it comes to somebody is single, somebody is married, somebody is from one tribe, somebody is different things. We even hear situations where people say, I want working class, I want a certain tribe, I want single, this is the criteria. Only those that are married and have only one child, nobody should come in, no cousins, no extra family members, and all of that. And still we're talking about communal living. So what's your take on the different rules and regulations, and also the kind of attitude that different people get from house owners and landlords and landladies?
Honestly, the stereotyping is actually very bad these days, especially for unmarried single ladies and even single men. And I wish there is a law or there's a body that one can report this certain landlords to, because it's actually a thing right now, especially in this part of Nigeria. You go to rent a property, they say, if you're not of this certain tribe, sorry, you're not giving the house. If you're not married, you have to bring, in fact, before a single girl gets an apartment right now, you need to bring a man. It is that bad. So I wish there is a body we can report to, but unfortunately I don't think there's any one right now. And you just have to adhere to the rules. At the end of the day, it is their property, it's what they want. That's why I advise any forward-thinking person to always work towards having your own property, to avoid this landlord madness.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, so you can also be your own landlord, so you own your own property. You can't just be renting, want to rent for long term. You should work towards having your own, so you can avoid all this unnecessary rubbish. I call it rubbish because it's very, very annoying, especially for single people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm to ask you,
okay,
why do you think they label these people? Why do you think, somebody doesn't want to have a single lady in their house? I don't think it should be a big deal. But what are the reasons?
Okay, so maybe they've had previous bad experience with their former tenants. Maybe they rented it out to a single person, and a single person maybe lived an immoral life, and their way of living doesn't align to what the landlord or the owner of the property wants. And because of that, or maybe because they rented to a certain tribe and that certain tribe gave them a lot of problem, and because of that, going forward, they don't want to do that anymore. I've heard of cases whereby they owe rent, some certain tribe, they owe rent and they want to challenge ownership of the property. I mean, this is my property and you don't want to pay, you are still taking me to court. If you are the landlord, do you want to rent your property to that particular set of people again. You won't want to, because you won't want to go through that stress. So while I understand their own point of view, I also think is not reasonable for you to just put everybody generalize and put everybody in that box, and because you're from this tribe, you will behave like this. No, you are different. We're different people.
Everything still boils down to personality.
Yes, exactly.
It still boils down to personality.
Exactly.
So I would say that house owners should not jump into conclusion
at all.
They should not generalize.
At all.
Give different people the chance.
Yes, benefit of doubt.
Yeah, benefit of doubt to explore their space.
Exactly.
You understand? So I agree with you, and it's good that we've spoken about that.
Yeah. And
we hope that things get better.
We really
so everybody gets that opportunity that they really need. Because truth of the matter is, people, you will definitely at some point be a tenant. Even if you leave, you can leave a state, you can leave a country, you can own a house somewhere and need to rent space somewhere else.
Yes.
How exactly do you want to be treated? Sure. So I think we should put it out there that you should treat other people the same way you want to be treated. And for what it's worth, I think everything should be written in black and white.
Yes.
So if you default, whatever it is, whatever tribe you are, whatever gender you are, married or unmarried,
yes,
your status doesn't matter. If you default, these are the rules, these are the regulations. Do not default. If you default, this is the clause.
Yeah. You
go for it.
That's where the agreement comes in.
I think that works. Okay. Yes. Okay. So I'd like to ask on an almost final note.
Okay.
How long do you think one should live in a rented apartment? There are different angles to it. Okay. Sometimes, for instance, you have a house in Bagada, or rather, you rented an apartment in Bagada, and over the years, you're able to build yourself a house on maybe the outskirts of town, and you still want to maintain that Bagada house. Maybe you rent out your own house that belongs to you. You still want to stay there. How long do you think someone can stay in an apartment that they rented, especially if the house owner isn't disturbing you?
Well, I would say don't get too comfortable. Always, you can stay, you can rent for as long as so for as long as it aligns with your goals and your life, basically. But then don't get comfortable. Always strive, if you can, to work towards owning your own property, owning your own home. Whilst you're in a rented space, you can gradually work towards owning your own. If it's to key into off-land properties, you key into at the early stage and pay small. There are mortgage plans available right now in Nigeria that is affordable. You key into those opportunities and work towards owning. Because let me tell you, there's nothing like living your own property. Like the peace of mind that nobody can come and tell you nonsense. Sure. You are the one that have the say of what goes on in your property. There's nothing that beats that. So whilst renting, yes, you're affordable. You can say, okay, yes, it's quite affordable to rent and all. Always strive to have your own. See, right now in Nigeria, some people actually have the money to buy their own property, but they are so comfortable living in another person's property, and they forget that a day of reckoning will come. This person might just wake up one day and say, okay, let me sell this property, and the next owner will say, get out of my house.
Sure.
And then you start saying, oh, I think you'll not be in a panic mode of trying to sort, because you've had this money before. So I would say for any forward-thinking person, whilst it's okay for you to stay in a rented space, but if you have the money, please work towards owning your own property so you can have peace of mind on the long run.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, on a final note, on a very final note, I'd like to ask on this show, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's talk about a certain location in Lagos.
Okay.
And we'll look at Ikate.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, how do you think you can judge the accessibility affordability, security, and drainage. The flood issues
Okay.
of Ikate. Affordability, accessibility, security, and flood.
Okay, let's start with accessibility. I'll rate it a 10. Ikate is very accessible to wherever you want to go to on the island.
Okay.
Even if you want to go to the mainland, Ikoyi Link Bridge, you're linked to third mainland and you're on the mainland. It's a very good location for personal use and investment wise. Commercial use is a very beautiful location. Affordability is relative. Okay, so it can be affordable to some group of persons, some certain class. For example, you to some persons, Ikate is more affordable. Getting a property there, getting a property in VI or in Banana or in Ikoyi. So I think in that aspect it's relative. If you can afford to stay in Ikate, please do. It's a very good location. Security is very secure. It is secure. I can guarantee you that it is secure. I rarely hear of any
security issues.
Yeah, security issues around the access app. I don't hear of that. Then talking about flood risk. Well, that's I give it a 7, to be honest. Yes, because there's a lot of work that been done recently.
Oh, really?
So the flood is not like as we have it bad back then. So there's a lot of work being done, and there's a lot of work in progress, and there's a lot of work in plan to be done in the nearest future. So if you're looking to invest in a property in Ikate, please go ahead. It's a good location, and for commercial purpose, you will thrive.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Madam Genia. Thank you for joining us on this segment, and we hope that when next we call, you'll respond.
Of course.
Thank you so much. All right, there you have it. On this show, we've discussed some pertinent topics that you always want us to talk about. I am sure that you enjoyed yourself. I'm sure that you have different contributions. We would love for you to continue talking to us on this platform about different topics that we come up with. Once again, my name is Koinsola and I'm your host. This show is proudly brought to you by Formidable Corporate Partners, your #1 real estate broker firm, and we deal with properties that are properly valued, affordable, and proper due diligence has been done. So you can reach out to us. Let's talk about your next investment. Thank you very much. Till we see again on the next segment, on the next episode. Bye for now. Cheers.